Hello and welcome back to the Spotlight Games podcast for episode 103. I'm your host, Patrick, and this week we're going to be reviewing Cocoon. Amazon Prime has given us our first official look at the Fallout series, so we're going to react to that. We're going to talk about the very topical Simpsons Hit Run, and the Dumpster Boy and I are going to be making our predictions of some of the reveals we think might be coming on the biggest night in gaming, the Game Awards, happening next Thursday, December 7th at 8, maybe? I don't know. I don't remember the time. Look it up yourself. Welcome to the show, Cayman, my co-host, my sweet Dumpster Boy, Cayman Darty. How are you?
Patrick, I'm full sweat at the moment. I would say full sweating. I'm not technically sweating. I was in a rush. I'm late getting started. Obviously, we're late getting started, and it's my fault because I'm addicted, Patrick, to the PlayStation Portal.
Let's go. What? I'm assuming you're still playing Dragon Quest.
Yeah, dude, I'm 85 hours into Dragon Quest. I just love a good JRPG. You know, just a good JRPG where you can just sink your teeth into it. The PlayStation Portal is the perfect device for a JRPG. And so what happened was I was like, oh, it's fine. This is portable. I'll just take it with me. Well, then I got stuck. I was grinding, trying to get some level up. I made a promise that if I got the portal, I would platinum Dragon Quest 11. So that's what we're working towards right now. And so I'm over here, and then I look down, and I realize, like, oh, fuck, I'm out of time.
Sure.
And even though it's portable, guess what? You still lose time in that in between. So I'm sorry, but I'm here.
Hey, you're here, and that's really all that matters. And sure. if the reason that you were late has to do with video games, I can't be mad. I can't be upset in the slightest, Cayman. You understand?
It's like what was it last week when you platinumed Alan Wake 2, like right before we went live, and it was like a breakneck speed. Have you ever done that where you're like, and I feel like I find myself, especially in situations like this where it's like doing a platinum run on a game, I feel like a lot of times that last like little bit of time getting prepped for like the big that last trophy, you know, is you're just like, all right, come on. Like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get this. Like, I've stayed up so late before, just being like, just a little bit like Tales of Arise. I think I platinumed at like 4 a.m. because I was like, no, we're right there, man. We just got to get to level 99, baby. We're right there. 4:30 in the morning. I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to bed now.
And there you are. Yeah. I myself have been playing a lot of video games, Cayman. So, I mean, we're going to talk about it because this is the Spotlight Games podcast where each week we spotlight the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Spotlight Games Pod or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on this show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod. So be sure to follow us there so that you're notified when we go live. That way, if we go live a couple minutes late, you're still there. You understand? Sure. So you can be part of the conversation. Cayman, yes. You and I, normally what we do, we have a fun little, let's check in about the show. Let's talk about what we're going to be talking about before a show. Yeah. We didn't do any of that.
We didn't do any
of that. You have no idea what we're going to be talking about other than what I said at the top of the show.
Absolutely no fucking idea.
No fucking idea. And so what I would like to kind of get you in the right headspace, Cayman, to get you ready to talk about some video games, I would like to hear about what you have been playing.
Yeah, so I want to give an update, a part 2 of my review of the PlayStation Portal, and then talk a little bit about Dragon's Quest. I know I've already done a little bit of this. So the big thing was last week was that I was going to Ohio for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And in the process, it would be the first time that I was like a significant distance away from my home PlayStation, my home Wi-Fi, to be able to test it out. So I've got some follow-up feedback.
Yes.
The first thing I want to say is, come to find out, we stayed at a Hilton hotel.
Yes.
For you to get the Wi-Fi, you have to like go in and it directs you through the internet, and then you have to sign in that way.
I was afraid of this.
So what I found out though is that you can still use your hotspot and then just supplement your hotspot with Wi-Fi. It doesn't work as well.
Okay.
But it works. So I had to do that with the portal because you couldn't. It doesn't just take you over.
Interesting.
So,
bastards. Do you think that's something that like there's an update on its way to so that there's like a little browser on the portal so that you can do something like at a hotel. Because I mean, one of the main reasons someone would buy the portal is if their life is on the road and they're in a lot of hotels all the time. Like,
yeah,
right?
one would assume. And so, yeah, it does pose a very interesting question about how that works. And I'm not 100% sure. What I can say is I use my hotspot instead, and it worked totally fine.
Okay.
I had a little bit of lag that came through, but I do want to point out the fact that one, the internet there wasn't fantastic anyway, and
Sure.
two, I was also like supplementing by running through a hotspot, which I didn't have great service anyway. So it was like kind of a mixed bag of like, we'll see. We're in the worst case scenario. Let's see how it works. And it worked just fine. I don't think that it would have been fantastic to play something like Spider-Man or something that's like labor intensive. Something like a turn-based RPG, which is what I'm playing right now, worked totally fine. It didn't really bother me in the slightest. A couple of hiccups here and there, but truthfully, nothing too big of an issue. Playing right now Dragon Quest XI, the definitive edition. It's so I'm playing that right now through PlayStation, obviously on my portal. I'm roughly, I think, at this point, 85 hours in. From what I understand, platinum run is somewhere between 115 to 130.
So you got
pending.
a chunk left.
Yeah, man. I'm at the final boss right now of the main story. But if you know anything about JRPGs, that last boss you fight is never the last boss you fight. You have to kill God.
Yes.
That's kind of the thing. So that's my hope, is that I get to kill God again. I love killing God. It's my favorite pastime. So yeah, so I'm right there. It's actually funny. I was Sid was sitting on the couch next to me. She's watching Gilmore Girls. I'm playing Dragon Quest, and I kill a Metal King slime. And if you know anything about Dragon Quest, you know that those are like, that's XP, baby. That's where you grind out. That's how you get full levels, is with the Metal King slime, right? So I got one just randomly popped up, and I was like, holy shit. So I'm like flipping out. I'm like, kill it. I'm 90,000 XP on one kill. And that's immediate level for every single party member, just leveled up immediately. Yeah. So going into the boss, I looked it up. It said like your normal recommended level for beating the boss before you get to, because there's bosses you have to be 99, level 99, every party member. Like, and you have to have all the best gear to be able to defeat the last boss of the game. So I'm working towards that, but I do this, and it's like the recommended level when playing through normal to kill Mordegon, you need to be like a level 50. Well, Papa Bear's sitting in a level 60 right now, so we're just gonna spank that tush. Spank that little behind. But man, this game fucks, dude. It's so fucking good. And
remind me, this is not your first time through, correct?
So oddly enough, this is the first time I've gotten this far.
Got it. Okay.
I tapped out last time right around probably hour 60. So I didn't even get to the final Mordegon fight. I really like the way that Dragon Quest does. And like the thing is, my issue is normally, because I have to play these games, like you had to play the original Dragon Quest, you had to play it on. They did release it for the Switch, I think, eventually. But when I first played it was on the PlayStation 4. And so playing it, this game is designed, like this is the perfect game to be played in your hands, like handheld.
Yeah.
Because of the grinding and all this stuff. So like, it's just this is how you should play it. So this is the first time I'm going to do it, and I'm shooting for the platinum. I'm already over 50% trophies. And we're doing it. We're not stopping. We're not stopping here. The train doesn't stop here, Patrick.
The train simply couldn't stop here, is the thing, Cayman. You ask for it to stop, it's not gonna. That's that on that.
You've been playing Cocoon, Patrick.
I have, Cayman. Not only have I been playing Cocoon, but I have finished Cocoon. Cocoon, pretty short game, so I'm going to give you just a nice little review here. I can also give you a platinum review, even though I haven't platinumed this game. And the reason I didn't platinum this game is because I played it on Xbox Game Pass. But very easy platinum. Like basically, all you got to do is finish the game and find like certain collectibles. That's all. So out of the gate, if you're a platinum hunter and you want to play this on a PlayStation, Cocoon, one of the easiest platinums out there, I would think. This game is really, really good. Yeah. It's about 5 hours ish. It could be longer depending on how quick or rather not quick you are to its puzzles. So for those of you who don't know Cocoon is it's like a puzzle game. It is made by people who left Playdead, which is the studio that made games like Limbo and Inside. This is the first game of this studio. I forgot to pull the actual studio's name, but it's very reminiscent of those games. You're a little bug guy. You're going around this breathtaking environment. I'll go ahead and say too, like if you have tryptophobia, which is the fear of like things with lots of circles, like a beehive, things like that, don't play this game. That's for certain. A lot of bug stuff. If you don't like bugs, you're not going to like Cocoon. But just as a piece of art, this game is breathtaking. The art direction is incredible. It's a really simple game. There's 2 buttons, your joystick and the button A or X. You jump, you grab things, or not. You don't even jump. Sorry, you just grab things. That's it. But it is. You might remember several weeks ago on this podcast, I talked about a little game called Viewfinder. I compared it in several ways to Portal in that it does something, or it did something rather, in a puzzle game that I'd never experienced before. And I kept having this sense of like, I can't believe this is happening. But that game eventually kind of lost steam, didn't really land at the finish. I didn't really care what was happening. It just felt more like a toy.
Sure.
This game, Cocoon, does all of the things I wish Viewfinder did, in that it has these gameplay elements that kind of break your brain in the way that they work in a fun way, and it delivers all 5 hours to the fullest. This like kind of like general sense of what the game is. It's a go from point A to point B video game, and you're just going to hit a lot of obstacles along the way. I don't want to necessarily spoil all the different puzzle elements because I think that's part of the fun, is figuring out, okay, what does this do and how do I use it to my benefit. But just as like an example to kind of what you can expect as you go through this world as this little bug looking dude, you come across like various objects, and these objects do different things in the environment. So the first one that you come across, it's this like orange orb. And when you're holding the orb, there might be like a path that wasn't there before that's now there, as long as you're holding the orange orb. And like, it'll show you like there should be something here, but you don't see it. You get the orb, you go there, now you see it, now you can walk on it. Just one example of like what one of these items can do that kind of changes the world that you're in. And then eventually these orbs also act as like worlds. Sure. In that they're like, you can go into the orb, and in that orb is like a different landscape, is a different world. And so then the puzzles start becoming like going from one world to the next, like with the orbs, and figuring out like, how do I get through this thing by going in this world versus that world and bringing things and taking things back. And it's just like this really weird kind of thing where like, as I'm describing it, this probably makes no fucking sense, but as you're playing it, like it immediately clicks and it immediately makes sense and it feels good doing it. So if you like a puzzler, if you like a really pretty game to look at while you're playing it with some really like beautiful music, Cocoon is great. Like I can't recommend it enough. I think for me, it's probably at the top of my like indie game of the year list for the games that I have played. But it really delivers. I think, we're a little behind the scenes, little peek here. We're kind of like figuring out an official Spotlight Games review score. Like, what is our scale? What are we? So for now, because we still haven't really figured that out, I'm just going to give this game a 5 out of 5. This is, I'm really impressed by this game. What it sets out to do, it fucking nails. And so I think, am I going to put it up against a Tears of the Kingdom, an Alan Wake 2, a Baldur's Gate? Probably not. But I think this, for what it is, especially if you have Game Pass, it's free. But it is on everything. So if you're listening to this, you don't have Game Pass, but you have a PC, a PlayStation, or a Switch, it's on all of those things. So go play this game. I think it's only $20. It might even be on sale for Cyber Monday week or whatever. But it's a good game. So all of that to say, Cayman, based on what I have said, does this feel like a game that you might try?
So it wasn't huge. Like I could respect Limbo and Inside, but I was never really big on them. Mainly just just the design of them. I don't really know. How does it play compared to something like that? Is this going to be one of those like frantic fast pace where I feel like Limbo especially had me
Sure.
like feeling like I'm like having to rush through a lot of portions for
That
certain
like
things.
anxiety inducing feeling those
Yeah.
games would give you, it doesn't. Not in my
Okay.
experience, at least.
Okay.
There's very, very little combat in this
Mhm.
game because all you can do is interact and move. But there are some like what you would call boss battles.
Mm.
But I didn't find any of those to be like overly anxiety inducing or even overly challenging. Like I think
Sure.
I probably only had to restart like one boss fight a couple times. So like it didn't ever feel like there were some moments, especially in Limbo, where it's like I don't understand what
Yeah.
I'm doing wrong here, and I keep dying, and
Yeah.
that's not fun.
There
I didn't
was
ever have that experience.
I think it was Limbo. It might have been Inside. There's one level in particular where you're having to use like boxes and they like portal you. Do you know what I'm
I think
talking?
that's
Remember that?
Inside. Yep.
And
Uh-huh.
that was like the most that's where I gave up on Inside. I was like, this is the most
Yeah.
infuriating fucking shit. I
Yeah.
respect what this game's doing. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
Cocoon sounds much more up my alley, and looking to see that 70% on PSN profile, 70% have gotten the platinum.
Yeah.
That always excites me. And 5 hours sounds wonderful compared to the fact I put 85 into Dragon
Yeah.
Quest 11 right now.
For sure.
With that being said, I do want to point out that the developer is Geometric Interactive, and it
Thank
was
you.
published by Annapurna.
Makes total sense. Like this,
Yeah.
the game, it doesn't necessarily like tell an overt story, but it has that like indie juice of like
Mhm.
it's saying something. I
Sure.
might not understand what it's saying, but I had a really good time playing the game.
I love that.
And it's a game that I could like I could see myself going back to because of how short it is, and it
Yeah.
just feels so good.
Yeah.
And it's really pretty, especially like on that big screen. So I had originally picked up this game on Steam to play it
Mm.
on my Steam Deck, but I was like, I was scrolling through what was on Game Pass and I saw it and I was like, let me just see, like, if it's on my big screen, am I going to want to play it on the big screen? I wanted to play it on the big screen.
Yeah.
That being said, if you wanted to play it on a handheld, I think it'll do just fine, but it's a
Nice.
really, really pretty game. Cayman, I have one other game that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And that is, I'm going to give you the choice.
Mm.
Would you rather hear me talk about Jusant by Don't Nod, the makers of Life is Strange? Or would you rather hear me talk about my experience 30 hours into Sea of Stars? That's been a little quiet. You haven't heard me talk about this one yet. That's been a little quiet. I've been doing that one in the background a little bit. What are you more interested
Oh
in?
man. So first things first, like I really want to know your thoughts on Sea of Stars because I think that's the next game I'm gonna pick up. That was the whole purpose of the portal was to play that.
Yeah.
And then Dragon Quest just took over. I want to know about that, but also I'm very curious about what the hell Jusant is. I've never heard of this game.
I can do both and I can be brief. So Jusant is a game, like I said, by Don't Nod. So if you're not familiar with their work, they typically have done games a la Telltale's The Walking Dead,
Mhm.
very much like a walking sim adventure game, a lot very dialogue driven.
Yeah.
But Jusant is a game where you are essentially climbing and kind of being told a story as you're climbing this like giant structure. There are other like climbing based games that have come out kind of recently that are seemingly like just for the gameplay of it, of like just that feeling of just climbing and climbing and climbing forever. Like there's this one, I can't remember what it's called, but it was really big on Twitch for a while.
Yeah.
It's not very much like that at all because it feels a lot more like very like capital IND, like that Annapurna type feeling of really pretty art style. And you're like, so the way that the game works, you can jump and then you can grab things, and
Mhm.
your triggers are your arms. So like if you want to reach and grab with your right arm, like you press R and then you press L to grab with your left arm, which doesn't sound like it would feel good, but it actually feels pretty good. They've really nailed like the feeling of this game, but it's essentially these like micro puzzles as you're climbing this giant mountain of like, how do I get from point A to point B here? And also while I'm going along this path, there's going to be like little notes that you're finding that's like kind of telling the story of what happened in this world. Also playing it on Game Pass. So that's a game, if you got Game Pass, you can play it there. But I think also is on everything, although I'm not 100% on Switch. It might not be on the Switch. But it's a game that I believe we saw at one of these, whether it was like an Xbox showcase, a PlayStation showcase, one of these like third-party showings at one of the first-party studio showcases, showing off this game. And it's a cool game. A friend of mine, Daniel, recommended that I play it, and I like it a lot. So I've only played like an hour of it. So I could probably have more full thoughts next week.
Interesting.
But it's a pretty cool game. Certainly not like, because we're at the end of the year and everything in my mind is like, is this a game of the year contender? Certainly not a game of the year contender, but we're like a fun game to play. That's, worth your time if it looks interesting to you. So then with that out of the way, let's talk about Sea of Stars.
Yes, please.
Before I jump into my thoughts, I want to ask you, because we've not talked about this game in a long time. How much did you play of Sea of Stars?
I was about 10 hours in.
10 hours in. Okay. So yeah, I'm about 30 hours, like 31, 32 hours in. So I don't want to necessarily say where I'm at in the story, but I feel like when I look at like an IGN walkthrough of all the chapters and levels and stuff, I feel like I'm about 80% through this game.
That's what it sounds like. I think like the platinum run is 50, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm playing this on my Steam Deck, so I'm getting the Steam trophies, but I'm not I'm probably not going to try to 100% it, because I'm not playing it on the PlayStation. But it's a very good video game. I think for those of you who might not be fully aware of what Sea of Stars is, we've talked about it a few times on the show, and came and talked a little bit about it last week, but it's like kind of feels like an old school JRPG, has that retro look, like pixel art look, turn-based combat. You play as one of two characters. You have a party, you're doing spells, you're doing magic, you're fighting things, you're blocking things, you're using potions, that kind of shit. And you're going through this world and experiencing a really lovely, like wholesome story. I'm really enjoying this game so far. I think the combat system's great. Like it's I love a simple combat system in a JRPG like this. Although this is a Western feeling, like a Western made JRPG, right?
Yeah, it's weird, right?
It's weird, but it very much feels like a JRPG of our childhood. But I think what I like most about the game is the sense of exploration. It's the kind of game where the world just like kind of keeps getting bigger.
Yeah.
But it doesn't ever get too big, at least in my experience. And so you're going around these environments, and it's the rare game for me where, even though the only map is like an overworld map that you get later in the game, there's no maps for like individual spaces that you're in. I don't need one, because it's designed so well that I don't need to it's designed in such a way that I always know where to go and where I can go off the beaten path to look for other things. Like it's the signposting in this game is really well done, where I kind of always know where I should be going. I'm having a really good time with it, but I gotta say, I don't, and this might upset some people, I don't feel like this is a game of the year contender for me. And I think the reason for that, I think maybe in a different year, maybe in like a lighter year, this could be game of the year. But I know, like, going into the Game Awards announcements, there were a lot of people, both within our sphere and outside in the bigger game space, being like, I think Sea of Stars should be one of the 6 nominated. And I just don't think it is of the same echelon as the other kind of huge games. And I don't mean huge as in size. I mean huge as in like what they're doing games of this year. Granted, I think it has a great shot for best independent game, or whether it's independent or debut indie. I forget which one it's nominated for. I think it has a really good shot to win that category. But I think it's good. And I think if it's a game, or if this is a game style that you're drawn to, I think you're going to have a good time. But I think for me, that like the story just isn't hitting the notes that is like moving me per se. And I think for a game like that feels kind of this simple in a lot of ways, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I kind of rely on the story to elevate it, and it's just not doing that for me. But I see how, if this story does that for you, this is certainly a game of the year contender for other people. I get that for sure. And it's a game that I absolutely will be finishing. Like, I don't want to necessarily, I want to add that caveat of like, I'm not saying this is bad by any means. I just feel like when you're comparing it to Zelda, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, it's hard for me to put it at that same level of those games personally.
Yeah.
But I think once you get back into it and do those remaining 40, 50 hours to get the platinum, like you were spot on with like, this is a great game. And this is one that is really gonna, I think you'll probably end up liking it a little more than me. If I were to guess. But again, not to say that this is bad by any means, but I think I was, and it might be that I fell victim to the hype. Like I was kind of expecting this to like kind of blow me away. And I was like, oh, this is a really good, well-made video game. And that's kind of all that I've had with it so far. But excited to see where it goes from here. Because I am having a really good time with it.
Well, I look, and I think that's the thing. Like when the time I put into it, like I can very much tell you, like this is a Cayman ass video game. But that's just who I am, and I don't even really know why that is. There really is no reasoning for that for me to be like, well, how do we get here? But like when you talk about something like Cocoon, I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And like the platinum, I love a 5-hour game, and I love an easy plat. I love platinums that are not hard. And aren't going to be putting me up over 100 hours to get. But with that being said, though, like I look at that being like, yeah, like Cocoon sounds like a game that I will play, but I probably won't have that same enjoyment. But that's totally, and I think that's the thing, right, man? Like at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, is to bring those opinions forward, with bring those where we can say these things, Patrick.
For sure. And something that I think at least I appreciate about the relationship that you and I have, both on camera and off, is that we have different tastes. And so a game that's going to really speak to me in certain ways might not speak to you in the same ways, and vice versa. But as long as we're having fun, that's all I care about. Also, before we move on, we got friends in the show, Terry and Jordan, aka Cognitive Clips, in the chat, and unfortunately Cayman, Jordan has unsubscribed from this channel because of my opinions of Sea of Stars, it seems. But hey, that, I was afraid that might be an outcome, but it happened, and I'm gonna still love you deeply, Jordan. Cayman, what do you say we get into a little bit of the news, a little bit of some other things that we've been talking about, which is something that I've been really interested to get your thoughts on, which is Amazon Prime has shown us a little bit about Fallout, their series coming in 2024. I'm going to do a little screen share before I jump into this little story here. Let's see. Boom shakalaka. I'm still getting used to this second screen that I'm using, and there it comes. So I'm pulling from Variety here for a little bit about the show, if you haven't played Fallout, so that you know what we're talking about. This is Anthony Brisnican at Vanity Fair, not Variety. Fallout often looks like the distant past, but it's really the far-off future, and actually, it's the end of life as we know it. In the new series debuting on Amazon Prime Video on April 12, a nuclear war breaks out across Earth in the year 2077, which is or was an era of robots, hover cars, and a deep, abiding nostalgia for the America of the 1940s. Everything from the clothes to the entertainment to the vehicles mimic the look of that bygone age, albeit with a sci-fi tilt. That retro futuristic aesthetic was one of the charms of the mega-selling video game series that inspired the show. Mass Extinction, is just the starting point for Fallout, which was developed for TV by Westworld creators and husband and wife, Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. After the incendiary mushroom clouds, the story flashes forward 219 years. How did humanity fare over those blighted 2 centuries? So what I have shared here on the screen, if you're just listening, I have a little bit of a screen share happening, showing some images, some screenshots from the show. And I want to talk about them, Cayman. I want to get your thoughts and kind of feel, what's our excitement level for Fallout now that we're seeing some of these images. So this first one that we see looks like, I would assume, a father and daughter inside whatever vault that they're in. But you might recognize, if you're watching the video, that's Ella Purnell from Yellow Jackets, a show that Cayman and I both enjoyed very much. It seems like she's going to be one of the main characters, if not the main character. But they're wearing that iconic blue and yellow vault outfit. Really enjoying kind of the aesthetic they're already bringing to it.
Is that Kyle MacLachlan next to her?
let's see. The article mentions Ella Purnell and mentions Walton Goggins, but I didn't pull the entire article.
Okay. So
Jump over to Vanity Fair and see it. But yeah, actually, what are your thoughts? I'll pull it up.
Yeah, so the first thing was that threw me was the love of the 1940s, and I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? This is like 50s, early 60s. Okay,
Sure.
that threw me. Vanity Fair, get your journalist in check, you fuckers. So these look. Here's the thing. I think the first mistake a lot of adaptations make is that they don't follow the source material to certain degrees. I think that you can pass a lot of shit off by changing a lot of details, but I think one of the big things people want, and I think something that we're starting to finally see with like superhero shit, is that they're starting to finally be like, okay, we don't have to make everything look different. We can put fucking Wolverine in his yellow and blue, right?
Yeah.
I love the fact that like the vault suits look exactly the same. Eventually, we'll get to the Brotherhood of Steel photo, and that looks so fucking amazing.
Okay, so here's the Brotherhood of Steel photo here.
Yeah, like that's spot on. That
looks
like that
great.
It looks exactly like it does in the video game, and that's I think the big thing here is that like the attention to detail to that's what drives fans, right? This is what gets fans excited. Now, there's going to be lore. There's going to be little things like Easter eggs. Like I think Twisted Metal did a really good job of that, but I don't think Twisted Metal had as much there as like Fallout has, right?
Yeah.
Where like we're getting photos and stuff that they've released of like what did the mutants look like, and like oh shit, like they're missing the ghouls missing noses, like perfect. That's spot on, man.
Yeah.
So this Brotherhood of Steel photo right here, this is the perfect one.
It looks so good, and especially like, seeing the size next to the human.
Yeah, and it's like that's exactly what we want. It's really what we want, right?
Yeah,
I have a lot of faith that this show, at least for aesthetically, is going to nail it. I have a lot of faith that this is going to be great. I really think this might actually be a fun show. We might
I think so
have
too.
Another, I don't know if it'll be like the Last of Us level, like winning Emmys and shit like that, but like I think this is going to be a ton of fun. I think we are in that heyday of like, we got Carl Urban, who's going to be in the new Mortal Kombat film, playing Johnny Cage.
Yep.
Love that, right? Twisted Metal was so much fucking fun. And if I'm not mistaken, they announced it's getting renewed for a second season. The Last of Us was incredible. Halo was dog shit. But guess what? The Sonic movies were fucking amazing. And Sonic hasn't had a good video game in like 20 years. So like Chris Pratt as Mario was not bad. So
it was good. It was a good movie.
I think we're finally starting to treat video games as like an actual mainstream thing, where I think before we just kind of were like, this is a cash grab. I think they're genuinely treating video games like this is, and maybe it's because their audience is our age. Their audience is in their 30s, 40s now. So they're like, yeah, like these people don't want this bullshit,
For sure. And I think the thing that feels different to me about this, what I feel like is like the first golden era of video game adaptations, is they're getting the right people to do the jobs. Like with this, hearing that it's Christopher Nolan and Lisa Joy Nolan, who, say what you will about the last like season and a half of Westworld, those first couple seasons were fucking incredible. And putting this kind of a story in those kinds of creators' hands, right? I think of Craig Mazin for The Last of Us. It's like when you're finding the right home for these jobs, and then you're also, thank you, Jordan. It's Jonathan Nolan, not Christopher. When you're putting these jobs in the right people's hands, people who have something to say, who are really talented at what they do, and you're not just like, it's not the studio or rather the game company just going to like some random studio and be like, hey, we want to make money off of this. What do you think about making this into a movie? It's like, that's not how this is going to work. We need to make sure someone actually has something to say with this. And I think something that seems interesting about this show, from my understanding, it's taking place in Los Angeles, which is a setting that we've not seen in any Fallout game before. And so I've seen some kind of speculation on the internet, because so I've here pulled up Walton Goggins as the character that they're calling the Ghoul. But for those of you or those of us that have played the game, we know that ghouls are just like a person. It's not like one person. It's several people who have like so much radiation poisoning from living out in the wasteland that like they don't have a nose, and they look how Walton Goggin looks on this screen here, and they're often treated as like second class citizens within the video game world. But so all of that to say, there's been some speculation, like, is because we're in this new area, is he like the only ghoul, and that's why he's called the Ghoul? So like I'm interested to see like what kind of new story they bring to the Fallout world, since we're in a setting that we've not been in before. But yeah, I agree. Terry in the chat at first was like, I don't know how I'm feeling, but now, okay, this looks amazing. Jordan, these promo shots are legit. Like, I am very impressed with the way that these shots look, and how they seem to be capturing some of the most important parts of Fallout, which is that sense of like awe coming out of the vault, which is, we had that screenshot that was on the screen for a minute. And then those really interesting, deep characters that I think Walton Goggins is perfect for. Like, the thing that makes a Fallout world feel magical is all those characters that you run into and the side quests you fall into, and all these like weird encounters that you have. And actors like Walton Goggins are perfect for that kind of thing. So like, it feels like it's hitting all the right beats so far in just the first thing that they've shown us. And again, like Ella Purnell I think was really good in Yellow Jacket. So I'm excited. And I did confirm this is Kyle MacLachlan playing her father in that first screenshot.
Hell yeah. Love Kyle MacLachlan. I think the one thing I want to see from this, Patrick, and this is like a really weird request, and I don't think they'll do it, but like part of me feels like if you want to do this the right way, you have to do this, is that in like episode 2 or episode 3, that our main character that we follow has to end up wearing an outfit that's just made up of random mishmash parts that looks like absolute shit.
Yes, I agree.
Because that's every game, Fallout, Starfield, the Elder Scrolls games, you always end up that early on. You end up with like boots that don't match, pants that don't match, shirts that don't match a helmet.
Hilarious.
Like,
I hope so.
I really hope they give us that, right?
And the best news is it's coming within 6 months. Like, we still haven't gotten an official trailer. They showed a trailer at some con that hasn't been officially released to the public yet. But so I'm assuming we'll probably get a trailer here in the next few weeks. We might even get one at the Game Awards, perhaps, which might be something that we talk about later in the show. But before we get to that, Cayman, I want to talk about a story that I just think is so interesting, and it's about a game that we've talked about several times on this show, the Simpsons Hit and Run. So we're taking a bit of a blast to the past here to talk about what could have been with the Simpsons Hit and Run. So this is from Chris Scullion at VGC. The Simpsons Hit and Run publisher, quote, said no to a deal to make 5 more Simpsons games. Its producer has now claimed. In an interview with MinMax, the game's producer, John Melchior, was asked what happened to the planned Hit and Run 2 game, which was in the works at Radical Entertainment, who had developed the first game. Melchior explained that at least 2 Simpsons games were in development, and that publisher Vivendi Universal Games was given the option to make 5, but rejected it. Quote, Simpsons Hit and Run 2 would have been done by Radical, and there was a medieval Simpsons game that Matt Groening pitched, which was being done at Stormfront after Lord of the Rings, which, sidebar, Stormfront Lord of the Rings games are the ones that we've been talking about recently. The Two Towers, The Return of the King, the movie tie-in games. That's who Stormfront is, by the way. So they were going to be making a medieval Simpsons game. Apparently.
Man.
The article goes on to say the biggest crime was that Vivendi did not obtain the Simpsons license, though they had an offer in. The Simpsons came back with an offer, 5 games for X amount of dollars. It was a really good deal, and Vivendi said no after the success of Hit and Run. Asked why Vivendi turned down the deal, Melchior said he didn't know, but confirmed that work had already begun on the sequel. Quote, I don't know, he replied. They did games like Cold Winter and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which were dog shit. And to everybody's credit here, the sequel had airships, we had planes, we had lots to go on The Simpsons. This was going to be a franchise, no doubt, in anyone's mind. He then added, and this is the heartbreaker for me, he then added that EA was able to come in and buy the license with $80 million so that they could make their own games in every level. They could reference their own games in every level. he's referring to the Simpsons game that EA then made a few years later, which
It was
contains numerous
really
references to EA
fucking
games and
bad.
developers. So essentially, EA came in and threw $80 million at the Simpsons so that they could have the license, so that all these games ended up not happening. Because at first it's like they go to Vivendi and we're like, if you make 5 games, we'll give you a bunch of money, which I think is a fair thing to say no to. Like, that's a really big commitment to make 5 games.
That's
so I understand that
years
part of it.
that time, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, who knows how long one game took to develop then. But then the article goes on to kind of just talk a little bit more about like some of the other things that they had talked about, including in the sequel. But man, we almost had Hit and Run 2 came in. Can you believe that?
The world sucks, Patrick.
When I was reading this at first, I was like so interested, like, oh, cool, this is like a fun little piece of video game history. And then by the end of it, I'm like, man, that is fucking depressing. That EA, who at one point was voted the worst company in America, came in and kind of ruined the day here.
I wouldn't be shocked if whatever, yeah, man, that's such a bummer too, because I always look back, like I mean, we've talked about it enough times to know that like both of us are huge fans of Hit and Run. And it's like one of my favorite nostalgia games. But I can look back at that too without the rose tinted glasses and say like, yes, there were issues with this particular game that like I think a sequel could have done so much more and made such a better version where it would have gotten away from like take out a little bit less of the car combat or like the car portions and have more, exploring on the ground kind of stuff like they do in GTA. I think would have been awesome. And the truth is too is like Simpsons have been on air now for over 30 years. There's no stopping this. Like, I think they're renewed for another few more seasons, if I'm not mistaken. Like, the Simpsons aren't going anywhere. It's a treasure trove of shit that you can do. And it's like, there's so many things. I went back and like rewatched like a shit ton of Simpsons of last year. Yeah. And, like there's so many stories you can tell within that universe, so many weird little characters that you could bring in, so many things you can do. That's such a bummer that the truth is, we'll never see a Hit and Run remake. We'll never see a Hit and Run 2. This shit is just going to sit with EA amongst their plethora of dead franchises and IP that will just sit in a graveyard because they will never sell that shit off. And no one's going to be able, they're not going to waste money to do it. They'll just keep making fucking mobile games like Simpsons tapped out.
I would love, because the guy that Melchior in this article, he doesn't work with the company anymore. Like, I would love to hear, like, does EA still own the license for Simpsons in terms of video games? And like, if not, is someone like, has anyone like talked about maybe buying it? Or there's like so many, this opens up so many questions for me that I would love answers for that I probably will never get. But I thought it was just a really interesting thing that I never would have expected to hear. But here we are. So yeah, let us know what you thought about that, because I just found it super, super interesting. Okay, final topic for today. We're getting into topic of the show territory, Cayman.
This is the only topic I know. This is the only thing I actually knew about.
Correct. A couple weeks ago, we had friend of the show, Jordan, aka Cognitive Clips, on to talk about the nominations for the Game Awards. But now I want to talk about what we think might be announced and revealed. For those of us that have been following along with the Game Awards the last 10 years, one thing that we always know to expect from Jeff Keighley's Game Awards is that we're going to get a lot of video game trailers and announcements. The show usually is like 3 hours long, and like 45 of those minutes are just the awards, and then the rest is either commercials or game trailers and announcements. So it is unique in the kind of art space in that, in terms of award shows, this is the only one that spends more time celebrating the future of gaming than it does celebrating what just happened in gaming, which I think is so fascinating. But because of that, there's so much that can come and that can be announced. And it seems like every year it just gets bigger and bigger. I forget the number, but it was like 80 something million were watching live last year. So like, crazy. I feel like gloves are off. Like anything can happen moving forward at the Game Awards. When you have that many people watching, anything can happen. So I went to our audience on Instagram. I said, what do you think is going to be announced? What are your predictions? So I have a few of theirs, and we're also going to share our predictions. So Cayman, let's just jump in, go back and forth until we feel like we've made enough predictions. What's your first prediction of what we could expect to see at the Game Awards?
First prediction is we will get the official world premiere trailer for Grand Theft Auto 6.
I'm so interested to see if this happens. It was on my list as well as something that I might have predicted, but I figured one of us is certainly going to predict this. Because Rockstar has gone on record to say that they are showing a trailer in early December. And Cayman, when is the Game Awards? Early December. I also think this is going to happen, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Rockstar is like, we're big enough that we don't even need you.
So
but everyone's going to be watching. So yeah, go ahead.
So that was my thing, was I thought the same thing, where I was like, Rockstar doesn't need to do this at all. Rockstar doesn't like need that extra push. But I could also see them releasing a trailer and then being like, having a second trailer being shown for Grand Theft Auto during the Game Awards too. Like two separate trailers. I want to go with like the world premiere because I think that's spicier, more fun.
Yeah.
And honestly, Rockstar might just do it just to fucking do it. I mean, I'm assuming to a certain degree they're not like, are they paying Jeff Keighley to be like, show this?
I think you do pay to show your game at the Game Awards. But
I mean, it makes sense.
Rockstar, I'm sure if Rockstar is showing their game at the Game Awards, I bet they are getting paid because they're that big.
Yeah, so who knows? I mean, I guess it depends on what the deal is there. Like, there's definitely sponsors and shit like that, and there's probably some people that are paying to have their shit being shown. But I do feel like some of this stuff, like, there's probably deals in place that's like no money. And if you want to get it, instead of just announcing it on Twitter, then you want to get this in front of 180 to 100 million people.
For sure,
it's a great way to do it. Great way to do it.
Yeah. No, I really hope that, because that would, especially if that's like the last thing of the night, that would tear the night down for sure.
Yeah.
If we got the GTA 6 announcement trailer. Pulling in one from the audience, Evan Brando, friend of the show, he's been on here multiple times, says, I opened my third eye and it's telling me Banjo game. We're getting a new Banjo Kazooie.
Okay.
Which,
that's a bold prediction.
That's a bold prediction. People have been wondering if Banjo is coming back now that Xbox is a lot more active, bringing kind of like older shit to the forefront. Might happen. Well, I guess there's only one way to find out, and that's to tune in next week to the Game Awards. Came in my first prediction. This is one that I think I don't think this is a slam dunk by any means. And the reason I don't think it's a slam dunk is because this studio is going to be saying a lot that night, because they're going to be winning a lot of awards. But I can't help but wonder if Baldur's Gate 3 is going to announce the date that they're coming to Xbox at the Game Awards.
Interesting. See, I have a different BG3 prediction that's not that one. But
okay.
I think that we could probably tag team both of our predictions together.
Let's get it. Let's tag team it.
So you're going with the Xbox, which I think is a smart move. I'm going with BG3 announces story DLC.
Ooh, okay.
And I think they could do both at the same time. That'd be fantastic to be like, blah, 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 blah. Here's the story DLC. It's going to be coming March of 2024. But don't worry, because we're going to be bringing, just in time for that, we're going to be bringing in January to the Xbox. And like, I think that would be like, that's a perfect like way. I think they could do both at the same time. And I definitely think BG3 has like room to throw in some DLC. Like, I think,
I think so too.
Yeah. I think there's like limitless space and possibility to continue that game's path of growth.
Yeah, and there have been a lot of people online that I've been seeing being like, I bet when they announce it, it's day and date, like, and it's out today. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Baldur's Gate 3 is so big, and it's going to move so many copies that they want everyone to know when it's finally coming to Xbox. It's not going to be a surprise.
The only thing I can think is that potentially Xbox brings it to Game Pass. But you have to think, for them to do that, Xbox is going to have to come up with a shit ton of cash, because
for sure
Larian Studios has proved that, like, hey, we can sell without Game Pass. We don't need it. So fork out the money.
Yeah.
Honestly, I kind of hope that they do. Like, I kind of hope it does come to Game Pass because, like, then that gives like just essentially like a safety net for Larian.
Yeah.
Because I think we just hope they keep making more games. They're fucking amazing.
Oh, for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if it landed on Game Pass, especially because there was the scuttlebutt of it not coming out originally on Xbox. Like
Yeah.
I could see that being an olive branch from old Spencer. But yeah, we'll see. My next one, since you shared your second, I'm gonna say a lot of these, as I read them right now, I'm like, I don't think many of these are gonna come true, but I'm hoping and I'm praying. And something that I really, really hope we see at the Game Awards is the announcement of whatever Blue Point is working on. I really hope we get a trailer of their new game.
Oh yeah.
That's my second prediction, is that because that's one of those things where it's like, I bet it's a safer bet to say whatever the next PlayStation showcase is, PlayStation would show something like a Blue Point game. But I'm dreaming. I'm hoping. I'm shooting for the stars.
I love it, honestly. Okay, so I'm gonna throw a curveball here.
Okay, curve it.
We already know Death Stranding 2 is gonna have, or Hideo Kojima is gonna have something going on at the Game Awards.
Whether it's a podcast or something else.
Death Stranding 2 is not going to be the title. It is going to have a completely different title.
Interesting. So we're getting a Death Stranding 2 trailer, and it will reveal a new title.
It is going to be a brand new title. I feel like Death Stranding 2 is just a working title. I think he's so emblazoned at this point, or emboldened at this point, that no, this will not, it won't be a Metal Gear Solid 5. You know, it'll be a fucking weird name that makes no sense. And
that's interesting. Because I feel like Death Stranding probably doesn't have a ton of cachet in terms of like name recognition. I'm gonna tag on to that.
Ooh,
and throw out my third one and say that we're gonna get a date. Kojima's gonna tell us when Death Stranding 2 is coming.
I think that's solid. That's solid.
Let's bring in one from the audience,
please.
This one, I'm going to bring in two, because this one isn't actually a prediction, but it did make me laugh. And it did I wanted to bring up something else too. So Kayla, friend of the show from JK Games, says, who's going to come up on stage and troll this year? Which I said, hopefully nobody. But then we also got an official announcement from Jeff Keighley that they have upped their security for this year's Game Awards. So if someone gets on stage, he's in deep trouble.
Yeah.
But another actual prediction from Jordan, aka Cognitive Clips, who might still be in the chat, his hopium prediction is Metroid Prime 4. Jordan, not fucking happening.
Not gonna.
His realistic prediction, which I do think is going to happen, Elden Ring trailer, DLC, Elden Ring DLC trailer with a date. He added on.
That's actually, that was my prediction number 5 was Shadow of the Erdtree will get an expanded trailer as well as a release date. So I'm right there with you, Jordan. I agree. Implicitly, that is there's no world in which we don't get that at the Game Awards. I think that's the safest guess.
For sure. Okay, my next one. Oh wait, no, actually, that was one you were gonna say.
That was on my list.
Yeah, what's your
Jordan
next one?
Stole it from me. My next one is we're gonna get an Outer Worlds 2 trailer.
Interesting. So Outer Worlds, the what's the company that Bethesda owns?
Oh fuck,
that did Outer Worlds, but that not Wilds, right?
Not Wilds, no. Outer Worlds. We know that they're working on the game. It was a release, or we know they said something. I'm trying to remember what it was exactly, but we know that the game's been worked on as early as 2021. I don't think we're going to get a release date or anything like that. I think we're going to get a mood trailer, if anything. But I think we're going to get some sort of announcement, and it'll be probably a brief little teaser. But Outer Worlds 2 is on the horizon. Who the fuck is that developer?
They made Fallout New Vegas.
They did.
They're called Obsidian. That's right.
They're called Obsidian. There. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I feel like I've kind of done a couple pie in the sky, but I'm going pie in the fucking sky, Cayman. The long whispered, I don't know if it's actually been whispered about, but it has in my brain. The long whispered about sequel to The Order 1886 is revealed. And it's being developed by Bend Studio.
I would lose my absolute fucking mind in the best way possible if that happened.
I can guarantee it won't, but what if it does?
I would name my firstborn child Swaggy.
What if even if I'm wrong about the studio, what if we're just getting an 1886 sequel?
Here's the thing. I got one of the coolest things I got. I actually got the special edition collector's edition of the Order 1886, and it comes with the statue of Lancelot. It is one of the coolest statues from what is the company that does it? Sideshow. It's a Sideshow. And honestly, I don't think anyone would even I don't think I could post this on eBay and sell it for $5. But it is the most detailed, most beautiful statue I have in my on my weird nerd collectibles.
Hell yeah.
And someone in the chat, look up and see how much the Order 1886 Sir Lancelot or Sir Galahad, whatever the main characters, whatever that statue of him leaned up against the wall, how much that costs now on the aftermarket.
Cut to the chat. It's worth $7.
$7. I wouldn't literally would not be shocked.
That's a joke. Yeah.
I would.
Okay,
die,
so that would be amazing. Let's bring in one more from the chat, and then let's hit it over to you, Cayman. Liz, friend of the show, Mouth of the South, Liz McLean, 2014. Follow her on Twitch. They're making a DBD movie, which is a dumb fucking idea, she says. So I'm wondering if they're going to say anything about that, or really any game to movie adaptation starring Chris Pratt. Look, it's Chris Pratt's world, and we're just living in it. But I would be interested to see a DBD movie trailer. I wonder if it's a little too early for that. But because I'm assuming Five Nights at Freddy's, same people. Do we know?
I don't know who's doing the DBD movie. I know Blumhouse did Five Nights at Freddy, and they're already announced they're making, I think, 2 or 3 more of them.
Gotcha.
Because of how successful it was.
Okay.
Hold on. Dead by Daylight movie release date. That was a June 14th. Nope, that's not right. Blumhouse, yeah. Blumhouse is doing an Atomic Monster. Is going to be doing that. I don't know if there's any. James Wan, I think, might be set to direct. So that's interesting. And exciting stuff. I don't think there's any other information surrounding this. So yeah, who fucking knows?
Who fucking knows? So my next one came in. Or wait, no, it's your turn. It's your turn.
All right, my next is
my mind was pie in the fucking sky.
We're going to get an official Silent Hill remake trailer with a release date.
Okay,
it's coming. And it's probably going to come February.
Okay. Silent Hill 2 remake gets a date and trailer February.
Yeah, I'm just you can deduct points if you want to on February. I just got this I just think it's coming soon. And it's going to be a dump month. I think it's going to be but then again, video games lately, there is no dump month anymore. Used to be. But now some of the biggest games fucking Elden Ring came out in February? Yeah, so there's no dump month anymore, and I think if February is a perfect drop for them. Start the season off hot, maybe March, but even March seems a little too out for me. I don't know. I'm sticking with February. I like it.
Cayman, do you want me to go a little safer, or should I stick to the skies right now?
I want you to go safe for a second because I'm going to start. My wild picks are about to start coming.
Okay, great. So a safe one. It's a game that's been at the show before, and I would expect that it's a game that's going to be at the show again.
Mm-hmm.
Ubisoft's Skull and Bones finally gets a release date. And my little additional thing is that it's also coming in February.
I like that.
What I'm not saying is that it's also going to be delayed again. That's not part of the prediction because we can't know that.
I don't know if it will, man. I think they're at a point now. They've delayed it so many times. They're going to have to just get it out, right?
Shit, I honestly would think so.
Honestly, wouldn't even be shocked if they just straight up fucking cancel it.
They come on stage to say no more games.
Yeah, no more delays. No more. This has the consistent. Yves Guillemot comes on stage and he goes, "I'm not going to do a French accent because I don't know if I can." But he comes on stage.
I do have a pretty good Yves impression.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Well, how do I do this? Okay, so he comes on stage, Patrick, and he's like, "Everyone, I want you to get so excited because there's no more delays for Skull and Bones." The crowd goes wild, and he's like, You will never get your hands on it. We are officially canceling Skull and Bones. The crowd goes ape shit. They're so happy. They're so happy. The crowd is so happy.
Because wasn't it the Game Awards where they brought out these like little shanty singers to sing us a song while they showed us like video of the game, but like no one said anything. They just sang and showed us video with no like VO. I'm pretty sure that was the Game Awards.
I really hope that did happen because that sounds amazing.
If it wasn't the Game Awards, it was a press conference. Maybe it was just the Ubisoft press conference from like what used to be called E3, but hilarious.
What used to be called E3. Fair.
Okay, last one from the audience. Nick, aka Sweetskeet. I'd like some Dragon Quest 12 news. He said.
Oh, baby, you're telling me, dude.
I mean, I would too, but I don't know that we're gonna get in it. But this is a safe space where we're making all sorts of guesses. So
I mean, I love it. I love it. What's I guess it's me now.
We're back to you.
Okay, I got 4 more. I believe we're gonna get a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin mood trailer. We know the game exists. We know it's in production. I think right now would be a perfect time at the Game Awards to just come out. That we had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie this year. Shredder's Revenge was really big. I think it's I think that this is the best place to get people like, oh, okay, like peaked up a little bit. I don't think it's gonna be gameplay. I don't think it's gonna be anything other than
just a little
like you're gonna see like Raphael just kind of like walk out of the shadows, and it's gonna be really dark and edgy, and then that's gonna be it.
Hell yeah. I'm all about that. Also, Jordan in the chat, I think Skull and Bones is even less likely than Metroid Prime 4 dog. I disagree. Because here's my thinking on why I disagree with that is Skull and Bones has been in the media so many times that people like don't care anymore / take it seriously. But if 80 million people are watching and you finally say Skull and Bones is coming out in February, that now 80 million people actually know that they might want to play this game. Even if you get 1% of those people, then they're going to count it as a win because this is a game I'm sure has cost them so much money that they will never get back. But that's my thinking there. But hey, I could be wrong. I could be a fucking idiot.
Was this 11 years in the making?
It feels like it.
I think it was like officially went into production, or it was like whatever it was started production in 2013.
Wow.
It was first announced in 2018.
That's insane to me, but I believe it. Okay, next one for me. I'm gonna go a little on the safe side again, but then I got some buck wild ones too. I think we are going to get another trailer 1 year removed from the original trailer, but this one's gonna have a release date for Hades 2.
Okay. Do you know what? That honestly, I think that lines up. Because
they've already said that it's going to follow the same release strategy as the first one, that there's going to be like an early access period. So I guess maybe I should clarify. They'll announce when the early access period is specifically, because I think they've just said it's like a window of time that I don't remember off the top of my head what it is. But that's my guess, I think. Okay. What about you, Cayman?
My next is going to be Hellblade 2 gets a release date.
Okay, a release date.
Gets a release date.
Hellblade 2 Senua's Saga gets a release date. I believe that.
That's my last safe bet pick.
Safe bet, okay. Because I feel like that's a game that it's been a minute since we heard from. Other than I think they've said it's coming next year, but there's no date still. So I like that. I like that a lot. Let's see. Are any of these safe for my last safe one? Yeah, I'll say this one because this is one that there's been some rumors that this has been in the works. So this is a bit of a safe one. But in a way, like the part that's not safe is like this game came out so long ago, it'd be kind of weird to release something so much later.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but there have been some rumors about God of War Ragnarok DLC being announced at the Game Awards. So I'm gonna put my pin in that one and try to take credit for that rumor.
Well, I like that rumor, and I hope it comes true.
Thank you. I would like to go back into that world again.
Yeah, and I think that would give me the impetus to get back in and try to platinum it.
What do you think some DLC would look like? Do you think it'd be like from the perspective of like a Throod, or do you think it'd be Kratos doing another fun little jaunt somewhere?
It's a good question. I don't know. I kind of like the idea of it being maybe not a true DLC, but like a Lost Legacies type of DLC where you get to
Okay.
play as like Atreus.
Yeah,
And like a 12 to 15-hour long, like a 12-hour long, I think would be a good length.
for sure.
Little like side saga of him, like
That'd be cool.
his first adventures by himself, I think would be kind of cool.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the buck wildness of it all.
All right. I got two more.
Okay.
Buck Wild. The first one, Wolfenstein 3.
Ooh, 3.
Wolfenstein 3. This will not be a Wolfenstein picking up from the daughters. This is going to be because the last game, so they had Wolfenstein, then they had, was it Wolfenstein New Order, and then it was Wolfenstein, or maybe it was Wolfenstein
Youngbloods or something like that.
Youngbloods was the last one that came out, and it followed BJ Blazkowicz's two daughters.
Right. There was the Old Blood, and then I think Youngbloods.
Old Blood was the DLC.
That was it. Okay.
Yeah. What was there were two games. There was there was Wolfenstein, and there was Wolfenstein 2 something.
Wolfenstein 2 something game.
Yeah. What was the? I got my BJ Blast.
New Colossus.
New Colossus. I actually have a GI Joe. It was part of the collector's edition. It comes like a GI Joe of BJ Blazkowicz. It's great. No, I think we're gonna get an actual like Wolfenstein 3, like a 3.
Okay.
It is gonna be. Whatever they do, they will be picking up Wolfenstein again, but you will be in the shoes of BJ Blazkowicz.
I wonder, and the reason that, listening, you might wonder, well, we've already had 2 of them. Why is that buck wild? Well, because the people that made that are making Indiana Jones. So, like, who would be making this game?
I have no clue,
would then
man.
be the question, right? But that's what makes it buck wild.
Yeah,
and I'm all about it.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing too. Think about it: is that Insomniac is also making a Wolverine game.
True.
Then there's enough there. I don't know who's going to be making it, but Xbox has it, and I think Xbox really coming off the heels of Starfield.
Okay.
Like Xbox really needs some excitement again because what else does Xbox have right now to get excited about now that Starfield's out?
For sure. Yeah, no, I mean that's a good point. And like other than like Senua's Saga,
but like that's a very niche game for a very particular audience
at a big level, right? There's not a lot.
Yeah, they need like one of these IP, like one of these tentpole IP games, and we're not getting another Doom. I can tell you that we're not getting another Doom for a while, just because the last Doom just came out, and I think they just released a few months ago the last DLC for the Doom Eternal. So like, no, the only thing that I can think of right now would be like tentpole, even if it's just one of those things where they did like Elder Scrolls or the Elder Scrolls 6, where they were like, this game's never coming out, but we're gonna get you excited about it. Like that's, I think.
What if they showed a new Elder Scrolls 6 trailer?
Nah, dude, they got to do something, man. They got to do something.
Well, here's something. And it might confuse people at first, but it's gonna start with an Xbox splash screen, Cayman.
Okay.
Go along this ride with me for this reveal.
Yeah.
We see Xbox logo first. So the people that are watching are going to think, oh, wow, new Xbox exclusive. It's not going to be an Xbox exclusive, but Xbox paid to reveal this game, which is a normal practice for these kinds of things. We're in a city, Cayman. We're in an industrialized city. We're going, maybe we're watching some small little feet running. We're just like seeing like ankle down, running down the street. There's like some water splashing. We're thinking, wow, these graphics are amazing, Cayman. We're hearing some like kind of folksy music in the background, Cayman. And we're like, ooh, this is a fun little vibe. Well, what could this be, Cayman? And we hear some gunfire. We hear some like, ooh, is that like fire or maybe like electricity or something? And then we pan up the camera and we see a Big Daddy new BioShock game.
Okay. We are due for BioShock 4.
We are so due for a BioShock game that I feel like there were some rumors last year that maybe we'll finally see BioShock, but then we ended up just seeing Ken Levine's new game, who's the name I can't remember off the top of my head, Judas maybe.
I think that sounds right.
But there's a movie in the works, and I feel like BioShock has been gone for so long that it's bound to come back, and I think now's the time. And I think that is another game that I feel like Keeley would be like, I will pay you to let me reveal BioShock, because that's a game that would break gaming Twitter for sure.
Yeah. My last prediction, Patrick, would also break gaming Twitter.
Let's go.
Splash Screen doesn't have one because there's no need, because this is not a first party IP. But what there is going to be is one of the most earworm pop jazz inspired, just big electric guitar. You're going to have a female vocalist just come in and just lay down some of the most hype music. You're going to be just jazz dance. You're going to be moving in your seat. You're going to be grooving. It's going to have, and then you're like, all of a sudden, bam, wham, thank you, ma'am. It's crazy. What is this awesome art style that's like half anime, but also not really? Hold on a second. Is that, are we in Tokyo? Is this Persona 6?
Yes!
Motherfucker, it is Persona 6. That's it. We are due for Persona 6. And I think because Atlas has been making such big waves lately with being like, we're more Western friendly than it seems, by opening up all their shit to everyone else and coming to Xbox and stuff like that. I think that they would 100% announce. Now, I don't think this game is going to come out for another couple of years. But I definitely think this announcement coming, because you got to think, like, P5 Royal was 2020.
I think
when it came out. It was during the pandemic. 3 years after that, I think
we have there's another Atlas game in the works, something ReFantasio or something, but that's not the main Persona team building that game, I don't believe.
No,
and I could be wrong about that.
And they've got Persona 5 Tactics that's coming out this year. I think this year still. And that's not the same Persona team. Yeah, and then I was looking and was doing some research on this, and apparently there's been rumors with some pretty solid reporting and leaks coming out from some reputable sources that are saying that Persona 6 is in the works right now and is like pretty far along in development. So I'm feeling it.
I like it. My last prediction, and then, which, by the way, love your pick, because I also had Persona 6 announced as one of my predictions that I
sorry,
didn't get
stole
to.
It from you.
No, that's okay. I'm going to end with what I think is probably the most unlikely to happen prediction, but this also would break gaming Twitter. Cayman, let me paint the scene,
please.
We start with a black screen for a bit. No studio revealed yet, because that would give away what we're about to get to. But we just hear some music, maybe like maybe let's say it's like a mandolin. We're somewhere in the east, Cayman, and we hear the hubbub of a city. We hear just all sorts of voices happening, and we hear the voice of a woman come in, and she's having like some fun banter with let's say she's talking to like a store owner. They're doing some bartering. Maybe they're speaking in Mandarin. Who knows? I can only see so much. The vision is foggy, Cayman. But there's something familiar about this voice that we hear, Cayman, and this music. It's kind of building a little bit, and then we hear kind of there's a break in all sound. There's just silence, and then what do we hear? Uncharted hits the screen. New Uncharted game, not being made by Naughty Dog. New protagonist.
Okay.
That's not Nathan Drake. It's a woman that we're in the shoes of. Maybe they don't say who it is, so I'll save who it is for, if you haven't played Uncharted 4. I don't want to necessarily spoil the game, but I think new protagonist, new studio, new locale, new Uncharted game. Maybe Sully's there. Who knows? I don't know. I can the vision is only so clear, Cayman.
Vision's only so clear. I feel
but Uncharted happening. Take that to the bank, Cayman.
I love it.
Certainly not happening.
No, not happening.
Terry in the chat, it'd be interesting to see how that would work. I'd be excited about more Uncharted. I would too. I would also like. I feel like because recently, so when what we talked about last week, Naughty Dog revealed Last of Us Part 2 remastered. And then since then, Neil Druckmann has been on record being like, I'm not commenting on any other games but we are working on things that aren't The Last of Us. And they years ago said like they're done with Uncharted. So I just don't think that a new thing would be an Uncharted game. And I would be willing to bet, because the Last of Us multiplayer game was recently kind of put on ice a little bit. I doubt we would see Naughty Dog announce anything since they just announced remastered last week.
So allegedly, I saw there was a rumor that Sony Santa Monica and Naughty Dog are both working on new IP sci-fi games.
Interesting.
So
I would believe it. Like I feel like neither of them have done that in such a long time, if ever. That like I could see them having earned the right to do whatever the fuck they want in whatever genre that they want to be in. Yeah, that's very interesting. Some other things that go ahead.
Oh no, please.
I was just gonna say some other things that I percolated on that are unofficial predictions came in. Things that we didn't ever get to. Spider-Man 2 DLC, perhaps.
Yeah, that was something I was thinking about.
And then Hollow Knight Silk Song revealed. Not gonna happen. NCAA football gets a trailer.
That actually could happen.
Could happen.
The expectation is that's going to drop summer of 2024. So yeah, that could very well happen.
Something, the last one, as an honorable mention that I really, really hope happens, but I doubt it will, because Nintendo absolutely marches to the beat of their own drum. Where's Wind Waker?
Yeah,
I don't think it's a Game Awards announcement. That I feel like if they were going to announce anything at the Game Awards, it would be something like a Mario.
See, that's why I've like held off on like predicting really anything Sony related, because I don't think Sony is going to use the Game Awards to announce anything, but I think Xbox does.
Sure,
I think Xbox utilizes the Game Awards to try to drum up excitement about next year for them, because they, like I said before, I don't really think they have a lot to be excited about for what their next year looks like, at least from what we know. With that being said, though, I think some sleeper things that could pop up. We could see another Tomb Raider. I definitely think that there is a world in which like a Tomb Raider reboot pops up. I think that's something. I think there's always a chance that we could see something coming out of the Star Wars universe. Yeah, definitely not anything related to like Star Wars Jedi Survivor, but like we could see something related to a new Star Wars IP.
I bet we see something Star Wars, maybe like Outlaws from Ubisoft, perhaps.
Maybe. And you know, and if I'm going like real curveball, Ultimate Alliance 4.
Whoa, that would be awesome. I would love to see another Ultimate Alliance.
Just please don't put it on the Switch, like, exclusive on the Switch again. Please don't do that. Like, don't do that.
Wow, dude. I forgot that happened, and I played that game.
Yeah,
I was like, man, we haven't had an Ultimate Alliance game since Ultimate Alliance 2. Not true. I played the third one.
Yeah, just don't. Like, they really fucked up by doing that.
Yeah.
Why would you just release it on the Switch? It didn't make sense, and it honestly didn't feel good on the Switch.
It didn't. I wanted so desperately to like that game, and I just
same.
I didn't. But let us know what we missed. What's going to be announced at the Game Awards that we didn't say? What do you want to see? Which of our predictions do you hope come true? Honestly, I hope we bat 1,000. Every single one of those things come true. It turns out this isn't a prediction. We just got access to the run of show, and we just went through it together live on Spotlight Games. But Cayman, that's our show. I do want to quickly mention, we've not gone by the update calendar, the 2023 calendar in a while. 3 very quick hits for you guys if you're interested. F099 getting a new mode. This might speak to you, Cayman. A classic race mode coming the day this releases, so it's going to feel more like F0 Classic. 20 participants, not the battle royale type game. Also, for you PC nerds, Assassin's Creed Syndicate free on Ubisoft right now until December 6th. So if that's a game you never played and you want to play it for free, download Ubisoft's launcher and it's free right now. And then finally, Jet Force Gemini, a game from like 1997 or something, coming to N64 online next month on your Switch. So check that out if you're interested. Cayman.
Yes, sir.
What a great show. This goes to show you we don't really need any sort of prep, and we're gonna put on a great product.
We just I feel like we've just been doing this shit for long enough that like
sure.
This is what our normal like just how the sausage is made. This is how our normal conversations via text message go. That's literally true. All day long.
All day long. Like yes, that's true. We don't have jobs. Cayman, thanks for being here, as you always are. Where can folks at home follow you on the internet if they would like to see more of your bullshit?
Yeah, you can follow me at the Dumpster Boy on Twitter. And if you haven't caught up yet on our backlog of STC, you can follow that. Save Trash Cinema. It's Save Trash Cinema on all socials. Like I said last week, it's just taken a little bit longer than expected with everything to get it back up and running. But if my wife has her way, then we'll have 15 episodes out by the end of the year. So
hell yeah.
Yeah, just keep your eyes posted on that. But you can see all of the dumb shit that I say on that. Yeah, over there too.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You can follow me on Twitter, Patrick Schwag. You can follow the pod on Twitter at SpotGamesPod or on Instagram, TikTok, all the other places, including YouTube and Twitch at Spotlight Games Pod. So be sure to follow us there. We'd love it if you would support the show. Tell your friends about it. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Terry, for being here in the chat. Great show to you as well. We'll be here next week talking about who the fuck knows. But until then, bye-bye. Bye-bye.